So some additional thoughts and perspectives. Again, there's no science behind this, so don't hold me to it. But again, some observations-based sharing that I'm doing. If you're typically a product company, the kind of scaling that you will experience is going to look something like this, which is that you build a product and you release it, you market it, and if customers like it, then boom, your growth is really exponential. Doesn't mean that your growth stops there, but it's just the first phase of growth. And typically, if you're a services company, it's a little different, right? It probably looks something like this, which is that you take a lot of time to define what your service is going to be, to go and get the initial set of customers. And those of you in the services business know that it's much longer sales cycles in the services business than in the product businesses, right? And if you really put the two together, what this graph really does is it actually tells you that your journey is obviously going to be somewhere in between maybe. But if you're a services company, and most of the startups that we've seen, at least in India, are really services models or some enablers. If you're trying to grow like a product company, then really the area between that curve, I'm going back to mathematics, right? Area under the curve, remember? The area between those two curves is the pain that you will actually experience if you apply one model to a business that doesn't work for you. Okay? Team, again, something that you have to really, really focus hard on. You have to get the best. You have to aim for the big prize. You have to show them the big prize, maybe make them part of that big prize, right? Structure is necessary, and this is when you start to scale up, okay? Most startups feel that the reason that most companies are unable to innovate is because of the structures. To a large extent, that is true, but you cannot also run a business without a structure. So structure is important. It really depends on how you structure it. So I'll just give you an example. So Google in the early 2000s, when they were scaling up, they were at about 400 employees, most of them obviously engineers. And there was a bunch of structures that the company had created. And they felt at that point in time, Larry Page actually, he felt that the managers were the ones really coming in the way of innovation. And so one fine day, he being Larry Page, he fired all the managers, right? And what happened after that was interesting, because then you had 100 engineers reporting into one executive, because you had 4 senior executives and you had 400 engineers. So think about it. When you're scaling up, do you want to be managing 50 people, or do you want to have a structure that works? Okay? And again, from experience with a lot of other companies that have actually achieved this success, small empowered core teams really work. 4 or 5 people. Just imagine, sitting at a dinner table with 20 people and trying to have a conversation. Yes, there'll be conversation, but are you going to have your conversation very effectively? So 4 to 5 core teams, empower them and let them lead. Yeah? Favorite topic of mine, I am a GE certified black belt, and basically that's been all my corporate life. And as you scale, right, this becomes all the more important. And then you begin to think, okay, how can I actually do it? One of the ways you do it is, the first thing you do really is to simplify. You have processes, you have, let's say a form that a customer has to fill. Why does the customer have to fill in, let's say, a 20-page form or a 5-page form? Why can't you make it, a 3-step process, for example? Why does a customer have to go through 9 levels in the IVR before they can actually get their resolution done, right? The other thing you do is automate. Again, there's a lot of focus on robotic automation and all of that, but if you don't simplify your process, whatever you automate is not going to work very efficiently either. So first simplify, and then whatever you can, then you can get into automation. And then if anything else is left after that, please think of outsourcing. Because if it's not core to your business, then don't make it your business to do that. Because what you will do is you'll only fall over yourself in trying to do things that are not really core to your business. So if you're a technology company, focus on the technology. If you are a customer brand building company, then focus on that. Don't worry about, who's hosting your data or where is it hosted, is it on the cloud, etc. It really doesn't matter, right? Another concept quickly, timer's almost 0, but I just have a few more slides and please bear with me. You've probably heard of EIR, right? Heard of EIR? Entrepreneur in Residence. A lot of companies have this concept where they get employees to play the role of an entrepreneur. They give them help, support, etc. And it's really worked for some of the companies as well as for individuals as well. I'm telling you to think of EIR in a little different way. Think of yourself as the EIA, and what that means is the entrepreneur in absentia, okay? I don't know what stage all of you are in your businesses, but if you take a week's vacation or a 2-week vacation and then come back only to see that your company is doing okay, it might actually give you a little bit of a worrisome night, right? But think of it, right? If you are able to get a business that is able to run on its own, that is able to generate money for you on its own, and that allows you to maybe sleep and relax a little bit. Not that you would, right? I mean, entrepreneurs being entrepreneurs, they'll go look for the next idea. But try to be that EIA, which is that let your teams and let your employees and let your partners also share the load with you. You don't have to do everything. Get others to do it as well, right? Just imagine if you were to trade your office chair for one of these, we'll have a room full of people sitting on Marina Beach on one of these chairs, right? So I'll give you 3 examples very quickly. This is the actual screenshot of my phone, and I like to talk about it only because I use these 3 products on a daily basis. The first one is an example of light capital scaling, which is a company called Trello. The second one is obviously Dropbox, and we'll talk about how they've scaled. And the third one is a very famous, Paytm. I'm sure it's on all of our phones here as well. The first one, how many of you know this company called Trello? Great. It's the next email killer, if you believe in it, right? It's a tool that allows project teams to collaborate. So what you see on top is really a board where project teams come collaborate. Obviously, this has a bunch of food pictures. This is not one of our boards, but we use something similar. In fact, our entire deal curation and investment process is now on Trello, which has completely eliminated email from our daily work lives, okay? Interesting company because we spoke about capital raise, okay? They were acquired last month for $425 million. And up until then, they had only raised $10 million 3 years ago. So if you think that capital is the only ingredient you need to grow, please think again, because that's not true. Okay? And obviously they did a number of great things, a lot of word of mouth marketing, and Jesse spoke about that a while ago. A very simple sort of interface to work with, etc. We all know Dropbox, again, just think of the kind of scaling that they've seen over the last, so many years, right? Almost a decade now. And really the key has been that they've been able to introduce focused product launches for focused customer segments and therefore been able to scale up much faster. The last one, obviously, adaptive scaling. And adaptive scaling really is, how are you adapting to your external environment? And, think about Paytm as an example. I mean, what it started off as 197 communication and what it is now, it's a payments bank, right? And all the things that they did during that journey was just amazing. And, obviously it's the most famous of, I'm not saying Happy is not, or there are many other great apps, but this is obviously, reached the top and therefore warrants an example. So I'll just quickly summarize. Think of the new Pareto principle, 595. Execution is key. Okay, if you think idea is key, please think again, execution is key. Have a scale-up plan for what works for your business. Don't try to copy someone else just because it worked for them. Okay? Put the right team together. Get a great team together and really focus on making your business lean. And that's the only way to become an EIA. Okay? So thanks, happy scaling, and that's me in case you need to reach out to me. Thank you.